There you are, my beautiful people. Welcome back to another thrilling episode of the most disturbing videos on the internet today. For context, don't believe everything you hear or see on this video. It's strictly for entertainment purposes only. With that being said, don't forget to hype your boy up, hit that like and subscribe button so you don't have to later, and let's dive in. Oh my God. She got it out though, didn't she? She hit the A-Town stomp, got it up out of there. Ah, what a traumatic experience that must have been.
So you've asked me many times, what did they do with the bodies? Where's the remains from the mud flood? Been hesitant to show it, but I've talked about it many times. The extensive catacombs of Paris, over 180 miles that we know of tunnels containing over 6 million remains. And let's see how they are kept. That's right, those are exactly what you think they are. Stacked exactly like that. So apparently this all took place when Paris ran out of room in the cemeteries. So they just piled up all these bones nice and neatly, cleaned them up, and arranged them ever so delicately in a non-sinister, evil type of way. These catacombs in Paris are just one of many spread all over this world that have been uncovered, containing remains just like this. The catacombs in Paris is just one of the largest that we've been told about. And they happily provide tours of, just like all those underground cities that are rediscovered and they give neat little tours of. And ending here in Paris, here's just a few more examples of these catacombs and crypts filled with cleaned remains. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
Who knows how many catacombs are out there? And that one in Paris with the 6 million bodies, that could be just one. There could be hundreds of catacombs out there that are undiscovered. Could they possibly be the remains of previous resets? You heard that right, resets, not just one. All the bones in the catacombs could be just from one reset. But what about the other resets? Where are the bodies for those?
These keep me awake at night, not for the reason that you would think. In the ancient world, you have stone circles and dolmens on every continent globally. That doesn't get me. 3 different people build the same pyramids using the same architectural style over long distances and vast amounts of time. And they also mummify their people, which we have scanned and confirmed and found some weird stuff like 3 toes and elongated heads with larger cranial volumes than we have. Okay. We find an artifact, we x-ray it, turns out it's an ancient computer. We remove the jungle, see what's underneath, and we find the biggest megastructures in the most inhospitable climates ever. That's fine. We attempt to explain how they build this stuff. But when we try and move a rock that is 1/3 the size of this rock, it takes 3 semis pulling a custom-built trailer with 22 axles across perfectly flat land just to drop it so people can walk under it. How they did it, that is just the gateway drug. I want to know, why are they all pretty much the same? So when I was in Egypt, I discovered that this is one of the most prolific symbols in the entire country. It's everywhere. One would think that an icon this important would be very well known. And as a dude from an advanced culture myself, I know a good icon when I see one. The strange part is the God Self icon is not an icon. Culturally, it behaves more like a font. Its meaning is the same. It's just the style that gets changed. Now add that to the flower of life and the swastika, also found all over the world. And you, my friend, are staring down the rabbit hole of who we are and why we got here. Get it. Jump down the hole.
Did you know the Great Sphinx has a tail? and that it also may have been built by the civilization of Atlantis thousands of years earlier than mainstream history suggests for a very specific purpose. Welcome to Phil's Pixel. According to this theory, the Sphinx was not made by the ancient Egyptians. We're told it was built about 4,500 years ago, around 2500 BC, but many believe it was constructed by a civilization that far predates anything we know. The Sphinx itself doesn't make any sense. It shouldn't even exist. For one, the ancient Egyptians were obsessed with recording everything they did. Yet, just like the pyramids, despite there being hieroglyphs that go back 5,000 years and more, not a single one of them mentions the Sphinx at all. One mainstream theory suggests the Sphinx was built as a sort of guardian of the pyramids to protect the pharaoh's treasures, but over time lost its significance, and the Egyptians just forgot to mention it in any of their texts. Like anywhere, no records of when it was built, for what purpose, or why its head is so small. Just look at it. The most immediate observation of the Sphinx is how tiny its head is compared to the rest of its body. It doesn't even remotely fit proportionally with its enormous body and just looks awkward, like it was done by accident. As you may know, ancient Egyptians were masters of proportion with their art, carvings, and statues. In fact, they are quite literally world famous for it. Statues they carved like these are notoriously known for being scarily precise, almost like they were machine made. You're telling me the guys who precisely calculated all four edges of a 146 meter high pyramid to meet perfectly at the top at the same time, a marvel of engineering even by today's standards, made the mistake of getting the head too small on a monument as important as the Sphinx, said to be the face of Khafre, the successor of Khufu, yet many agree it does not look like any other depictions of Khafre across ancient Egypt. As a matter of fact, it appears as if the Sphinx once had a much larger head, thought to have originally had the head of a dog or perhaps a lion with a full mane, and by the time the ancient Egyptians discovered it, they gave it a facelift, making it look more human and inadvertently ruining the proportions in the process. Because whoever did build the Sphinx dug it directly into the limestone bedrock beneath it, carving and hollowing out an entire enclosure around it. The blocks that were cut out of this bedrock were used to build the Temple of the Sphinx right in front of it, which have mostly deteriorated over time. Now, this right here, this is the part that sealed the deal, all but confirming we've gotten the age of the Sphinx wrong all these years, even among skeptics. With initially doubtful professional geologists like Robert Schoch traveling to Egypt with the intention of proving these fringe theories wrong. Yet, upon seeing it up close for the first time from the perspective of a geologist rather than an archaeologist, he realizes it is scientifically accurate to suggest the Sphinx is far older than we claim, because water erosion patterns around the enclosure indicate that heavy weathering by either strong or prolonged streams of water have occurred here. The Sphinx water erosion hypothesis. He and many others concluded that patterns like these definitely could not have been weathered by natural wind and sand, and also confirmed that these could not have been as a result of the Nile River flooding, leading to one of two choices, either consistent rainfall over thousands of years or super intense flash flooding. Climate data confirms this part of Egypt saw very little rainfall over the past 5,000 years, leaving us only with option 2, powerful floods. And the last era that fits the criteria that aligns with the rock patterns here was around 9600 BC, suggesting the Sphinx to be closer to 11,600 years old, conveniently lined up with the time of the Younger Dryas. And around 12,000 years ago, the Sphinx would have been facing in the direction of the constellation of Leo at the time, a lion, leading us back to the idea that the Sphinx may have originally been a lion monument with a much larger head facing the constellation that it represented, only to get washed away and buried for thousands of years, get rediscovered by the ancient Egyptians, and then forgotten again, until the 1800s, around which time the top of its head became visible from shifting sands. Then in the 1920s, the first official excavation started, finishing in 1936 for the very first time in a long time, from which many involved with the project agreed the depth that it was buried at did not match anything else in the area. There's no way the Sphinx could have been that deep underground by accident, leading them to strongly believe it was intentionally buried. And why? Because it may have been built as a safekeeper of knowledge for the legendary Atlantean Hall of Records that still exists hidden beneath it to this day. We'll dive into that one next time, and reminder, this is just a theory. For entertainment purposes only, may or may not be true, so shut the f up.
Let's take a closer look at the Sphinx. Because if you ask me, it definitely was a lion at one point. Because it just does not add up. I mean, take a look at these large paws this thing's have. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if it had a giant lion's head with a mane around it. The chest came out way further than where it's coming out now. And look how it's sitting. Like the hind legs are bunched up like a cat, and the fact that it has a tail, Come on now. The Egyptians found this Sphinx and then they turned it into this. Could this be evidence of a possible reset in ancient times? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
There's something super weird about all of these. Do you see it? These are real statues from ancient people all over the world. They are often separated by hundreds, if not thousands of years. Despite their separation in distance and age, none of them have a pupil. That mystery ties in with the entire ancient mystery. We could initially assume that the pupil was too difficult to add, but look at the detail everywhere else. The ancients spared no expense there ever. I think they could handle a pupil. Where we do see a pupil, the work is often way more inferior. Or they look like they were carved in later by a far less capable artist that couldn't really even center the pupil. Now, compare these with and without the pupil. How do you feel when you look at them? The one with the pupil seems like it's freaking out or has a 1,000-yard stare. It's weird. The lack of pupil almost makes you want to assume that emotion. So what's the mystery? The pupil controls the amount of light that comes into the retina. In the dark, we expand. In the light, it contracts. Too much dark we can't see. Too much light we can't see. At its core, light is the information we use to decipher and navigate reality. Now, the iris is the muscle that adjusts the pupil. Each iris is unique. That's why it can be used for identification. The lack of pupil indicates no need for outside information. We typically see it in deities. They don't need to interpret data from the eyes. They have the inner sight. They obviously know far more than you with your tiny little pupils. Another clue is given in the shape of the eye. It's nearly the same across every culture, regardless of the culture's appearance. The clue was given to us through the wedget. Its icon mirrors the shape of the limbic system in the brain. Even our research today is suggesting that this could be the seat of consciousness. So being consciously above the physical world requires no egoic identification with the physical world. You can think of this like the yogis and the monks that we see today doing crazy things with just their mind. Mind over matter, right? Our culture even associates this with higher intelligence in our version of aliens. But back then, this tactic was used to illustrate mastery over knowledge of the great mystery. Who are we? Where do we come from? Why are we here? How do we find that out?
In 2023, an incredible video was captured by photographer Dmitry Lyashev on a flight over Yakutia. In 2023, an incredible video was captured by photographer Dmitry Lyashev on a flight over Yakutia, revealing a seemingly endless long wall. Following the release of this footage, scientists began scrutinizing the images and concluded that the wall was man-made. The wall extends to the ocean, continuing beneath the water. Surprisingly, no one had previously noticed this wall, prompting bewilderment among scientists. Interestingly, Soviet scientist, architect, and occultist Ludwig Mavrikovich Heinrich, who visited a secret Vatican library in 1920, discovered a book referencing this wall in Yakutia. You can find a video about Mavrikovich on my channel. The wall spans several hundred kilometers. Speculation suggests that the Russian government prohibited aerial photography over the area, and in March 2024, a drone operator filming the wall was arrested. Presently, the government is striving to eliminate all online information related to this wall, leaving its nature shrouded in mystery.
So I guess this is the video of the ice wall right here.
In
Take a look at it. Could that be the ice wall?
Breaking news, you're going to hear this first from me, and then eventually other people will start copying me. So this is a scan of a city, buried city in Bolivia, Amazon. And this city is built in concentric circles, as you can probably see there. This is obviously underground, hidden, but it's been picked up by lasers, etc. Now, if you look at the concentric circles, where else have you heard of concentric circles? Yes, Atlantis. Now, if you've watched my previous videos, you will know that I am the person that has told you who was on Atlantis. And if we go one step further from the concentric circles to a Sumerian city, wow, doesn't that look the same as the other two? Obviously that's all buried and everything else, but that is in concentric circles. So once again, our true history has matched the Anunnaki to be in the Bolivian area. The Sphinx is a lot older than you think, but not as old as some researchers say. Now, some researchers say this is prior to the flood, which would have been 10,000 years plus ago. And they say this is also older than the pyramids. But the problem with some of these researchers is they forget that the pyramids had a covering over it, so any weathering would have took that off first and then started to work on the inner stones, whereas the Sphinx didn't have an outer covering, so the weathering attacked that first, so that's why it looks older. But anyway, so no, it was built after the floods. The ancient texts say that, which makes sense if you read the ancient texts. Now, the Great Flood was actually caused by Nibiru coming round, breaking off an ice shelf, causing tsunami. Now, Nibiru's been round twice more since, so I'm saying that there could have been a second mini flood, bearing in mind the Nile's not too far from it, which could have caused the weathering that they believe is old.
That's an interesting theory.
Stony Royd Cemetery up on the hill overlooking Halifax, Yorkshire, UK. And I saw this. And I noticed straight away this gnarly old melt, which drew me in. And then you can see plants growing up there out of the roof, feeding on the scalar energy. Look at this. Look at that. That is fantastic. Yeah, that is really amazing. That is fantastic. So they've smeared concrete, whatever this stuff is, putty, over. I guess they smeared it over the bits that were just too... I'd love to see what's under there. Unacceptable, basically. They smear over stuff that's unacceptable. Too many questions would be asked. Oh, there's some faces up there. Let's have a look. Drop my bag.
Almost like those plants grew on purpose to give them hair. Like, what was it? Like a chia pet. Did they actually try to do that on purpose?
There, that makes a good photo, does it not? Not sure if that's old world red brick, or I think that's probably been put in afterwards. And then more of this junk. Look at this. Ooh, a little partial red brick of survival there. So from that I can deduce that this whole building was very likely completely built of red brick. I wonder what they say the building was used for. Very large cemetery, lots of melt all around. So I'm thinking collapsed vaults. This would be some kind of energetic zone back in the Tartarian era, as we call it. There's another bit of red brick, look at that.
You know that they say that red brick conducts energy. You didn't hear about that? Check this out. We'll get back to this. Fire Marshal Bill, let me show you something. I gotta show you this because he keeps pointing out the red brick, and I was remembering, what's the significance of the red brick? And then it hit me. Red brick.
So let's talk about one of the big parts of the free energy architecture of the old world. Red bricks. That's right. There is a reason why so much of the old world structures are red bricked, and why so much of the buried structures we find are of the red bricked variety. Because they knew something that we are just now catching on to today, or at least being let disclose today. These red bricks could hold an electric charge. Just take a look at some of these articles yourself. You see they disclose a lot of these bits and pieces of old world tech in little back page news article dumps. Ones that many will never see. And it's forgotten just as quick. Red bricks, some of the world's cheapest and most familiar building materials, can be converted into energy storage units that can be charged to hold electricity, like a battery, according to new research. Is it really new research? Or repurposed technology from the old world? Red electric brick roads, red electric brick walls. Sadly, I wouldn't hold too much hope for this technology coming out in the mainstream anytime soon. Cheap, energy-efficient bricks that can store electricity. Well, there's no profit in that. Especially with the red bricks already there. The ones that aren't covered up with some cheap facade or concrete. That is why most of the old world buildings they did still keep like this. They rushed to cover up with some ugly facade. Question everything, friends. Until next time. The old world technology from the old.
You can almost see the wiring still in this, if I'm not mistaken. That looks like an old copper wire, doesn't it? So when he's pointing out the red bricks here, that is the first thing that comes to mind.
Old World Reset, Telegram, Facebook and Rumble. I'm not doing so many melt videos these days. I've got bigger fish to fry. You can end up getting obsessed with a certain aspect of the Great Reset, and I'm widening my horizons, but I still like to document the evidence. Wonder what that is.
That looks like some type of cannon, doesn't it? What is this, guys?
They'll probably say a flagpole holder. Oh, this is Old World. I'm sure, because in there, look, they've hidden it all up with the ivy. The ivy feeds on scalar energy. I used to think it was just the carbon-14 that they were feeding on, but not. And they're great for covering up melt, as the birds know. What a lovely area of town.
Man, I would love for him to go inside and show us what's in there.
What a strange area of town. Nice vibe. I'm quite sensitive to energies. I do like the vibe here. I immediately thought that when I came here. Grated up resonance chamber. That looks like it's been smashed off. They do that on the faces. I think it's the ones that show a Negro type nose. I think Freemasons going back were just going around smashing up all the faces that had a Negro type nose. Not 100% sure on that, but I guess so. So here we are back at this section. You know, what a story, what a story. What a story. Thanks, everybody.
I bet you'll never look at old structures the same again. It's almost like trying to reverse engineer them with our eyes and get some type of contact clues on the truth of the original purpose of these buildings.
When Morpheus holds up the battery in the Matrix and he says, "We are the source of energy," I finally understand what you mean. When the guys made the Matrix, they knew exactly what they were talking about. Wherever they got their information from is very, very interesting. The manipulated history that we find seems to be created and recreated for us on an ongoing basis. And this is what's becoming a little disturbing, but at the same time not surprising, what's going on here. There are places that we don't know about, that we should know about, like the Towers of Bologna in Italy. This is a drawing from the 1700s. How many of you have seen the Towers of Bologna? That until 200 years ago, the city of Bologna had more than 200 towers, up to 50 meters tall. They're all gone. And then suddenly you start stumbling upon An empire that until the late 1800s was a well-known empire across the world. You look at the old maps and you see the Tartarian Empire, one of the most important global empires, and then suddenly gone. We hear nothing about the Tartarian Empire, and what happened to them. And you start seeing that history is literally changing right under our eyes. Recent history, it's like just being wiped out. We know nothing about it. You see evidence of these things all over the place. You see very large buildings that, with the 2 or 3 bottom floors are just completely covered in mud, and then they just leave them like that, and they create the entrance on the higher floors to that same building. The reason I'm bringing this up is that if the news that we have coming from the media is fake, imagine how wrong all of our history is. And all of this, the fake news and this potentially fake history, is just adding to the great human puzzle and making us even more confused about who we are, where we come from, and why we're here. Institutions keep telling us that the ancients were primitive, and they looked something like this. And they built countless megalithic structures with their very primitive tools, like we can build them today. And they left behind these incredible places from times that we cannot remember. And we have no idea when these things actually happened. Some of them we speculate, and we're probably very wrong. And they dragged large blocks up mountains and built platforms. And you go to Mount Sharia in Siberia, and that's just ridiculous. I mean, look at the size of these blocks and these structures in Siberia. Realize that wherever you go in the world, there are mysterious ancient civilizations, and we really don't know much about the motive. We recognize what they've done. We're surprised by what they've done. Carving entire cities out of bedrock like this, platforms like this, and underground structures like this that are covered in Egypt just to hide it. And Borobudur, which is just obviously such a powerful, resonating thing. Anyone that knows anything about sound and resonance takes one look at this and go, okay, I know exactly what they do.
100%. Look at these giant bells. Half of this stuff I've never seen before, and they're hiding it from us. I feel like every history teacher should be showing us this, not some Boston Tea Party in Mayflower. Come on, I want to learn about this stuff.
What's interesting, as you may have noticed, many of these places, if not all of them that you've just seen, and there are countless more, all of them seem to be in the Northern Hemisphere. And that is a huge mystery. But unfortunately, the discovery of the ancient ruins of Southern Africa has just now completely blown that apart. Because now that is no longer the case. And the attention has shifted to the ancient ruins of South Africa and Southern Africa. The stone circles of Southern Africa have become one of the most interesting, mysterious, and unbelievable discoveries of ancient archaeology, ancient civilizations, not just because they are so amazing to look at and remarkable, but because they opened a door and they gave us very important clues as to what the ancient civilizations were doing and what technology they used. And that's actually been the big breakthrough to get to a deeper understanding of how smart and advanced the ancient civilizations were. And when you start noticing these flower-shaped structures, that's when it gets really interesting. Notice that these are not standalone structures. They're all connected by these channels that connect them, thousands of miles of channels, like they look like wires that connect all stone circles together. And then you can see that weird spider's web effect around it. No stone circle stands alone. They're all connected in this very large grid. And basically what you're looking at here is what has now been identified or recognized as the largest cluster of stone ruins anywhere on Earth. How many are there? More than 10 million of these structures throughout South Africa and Zimbabwe. It is quite staggering. 10 million is not a small number.
I've never heard about that.
This is an insanely huge number. When we get to the reason why they did this, I think this is when it starts to get really interesting.
Important thing, no doors and entrances. There are several archaeological drawings that clearly show us no doors and entrances. Clustered together like grapes. The channels connecting them all together, like I've showed you, everything is connected. What kind of stones are we dealing with here? And this is where it all starts to point us in a very interesting direction. It's a special kind of stone known as hornfels. It's a black stone. It looks like this. It's black on the inside. And then on the outside, it's got this reddish brown skin that grows very, very slowly a few thousand years per microscopic layer. That's how long it takes for this patina to grow. So if you've got tools or artifacts made out of this black rock, and the tools and artifacts are covered in patina, then you have to assume or conclude that the tools and artifacts were made a long, long time ago, not just a few hundred or a few thousand years ago, because that's not how the patina grows. So the patina in this is a very important way for us to not evaluate exactly or date the stones, the tools, but to give us an idea of how old they are. And we know that based on that, they're very, very old. The other important thing is that the stones ring like bells. And it was really at the moment that I discovered that these stones have acoustic properties and they ring like bells that everything changed. I no longer looked at the stone circles as cattle kraal or dwellings. I suddenly realized that we're dealing with sound. Sound, the primordial source of all things. Infinite energy, what Nikola Tesla probably used. Sound that levitates. And now we got sound coming out of the stone walls, of the stone circles. That's a great breakthrough. But what are we dealing with here? What are the stones made of? They're made of silica, people. Silica. Most of the content of these stones, what are they made of? 90% of most of the stone on this planet is made of silica. Sandstone is virtually pure silica. So here we have advanced technology used in ancient sites. The most advanced technology today is all silicon-based technology. Silica has memory. It contains knowledge. It contains information. It conducts sound and light. It stores light and sound and information and stores energy. In Southampton University, they're experimenting now with tiny little crystals that store up to 350 terabytes of information. One tiny little thing. But I can tell you that crystals like that will actually store infinite amount of information. Other important thing is that these structures are not just memory banks, they're actually giant machines. Giant machines that are activated by light and by sound. What were these stone circles for? I think you start seeing what these patterns are all about. This is the cymatic pattern for the shape of the sound on a metal plate will make this beautiful sound. And you realize that each one of these stone circles is just a cymatic pattern of the sound of planet Earth at that specific point. This is a representation of the sound frequency right there. So each one of these is a plug point, an energetic plug point into Mother Earth, becoming an energy generating source and multiplying that frequency and that energy.
I love talking about the old world, ancient technologies. I could do this all day. If you thought I didn't have an excellent specimen for you today, think again. You know, we were just talking about crystals. What if there was some way we could activate these and it was some type of data inside these crystals? Like, what if this crystal we're looking at has like 300 terabytes of some ancient data inside of it? We just don't know how to access it. How crazy would that be? If I had to name this specimen, I would call it Ancient Memory Card. Today is a banger, isn't it? I love this episode. I could talk about this stuff all day, guys. I love this stuff. I love it. And also, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps if you haven't already. Half the people that watch my videos don't hit the like or the subscribe button, which isn't a big deal. But if you truly enjoy these, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. That's all we have for today's video. If you made it this far, the code word is, what is today? Thursday? Drop Thursday banger. For some reason, I thought it was Friday, but drop Thursday banger. We must be because we having so much fun on these waters, man. And I love you guys. The code word's Thursday banger. I appreciate you guys for kicking it with me every day. Every single day. Y'all don't remember when I used to hit that. Welcome back. Hit that like and subscribe button because we do these videos every single day. You know, we really do, don't we? You know, I have so much fun with you guys. It's truly a blessing to be able to do this and speak with you guys. It's I don't take a single day for granted, and I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you guys. I'm going live today. I'm telling you right now, I'm going live. So be sure to head over to Jet Ski Chuck later on tonight around, let's say roughly 8 p.m. between 8 p.m. Eastern time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. I'm gonna try to get things ready to go live. Do another deep dive together. There's a lot of stuff we need to talk about. A lot of people are sending me content that we need to go over. I just got to find a way to prioritize it and show you guys. And yeah, a lot of exciting stuff coming up, man. I'm also working on a lot of exciting stuff behind the scenes, and yeah, having a lot of fun. Thank you guys. This was the most disturbing videos on the internet today. See you later.